the course of a couple of weeks, we started seeing what Asia was beginning to do to start lock things down and the fear and uncertainty that was emerging. It was apparent by the time we left Hong Kong on January 30th on one of the last flights out, where everybody in the airport was wearing masks and everybody was getting their temperature checked, that we were in for a long ride. And indeed, we got back to Nashville and I started talking to my team about the coming issues. And I do remember early talking to the team about protocol, meaning that we'd have to start following the protocol, which is what we've been doing now all year. Well, then we got smacked by a tornado on March 2nd, 3rd. And it was, I think that was the day before we had our first coronavirus case in the city. And so we had the double whammy, and now we're all hunkered in thinking that perhaps the real estate market is not happening. But you're going to be surprised, I think, today to hear how strong the market's been this year. And Deb, if you would sort of give us some stats and tell us what's going on in the marketplace this spring.
Sure. So just a real quick look here. Home sales and home closings are actually up for the quarter, including if you just look at March. So there's a 3.4% increase in home closings in March. I guess it's not last month now, it's May 1st. And a 9.1% increase in the quarter. The pending sales are down slightly, but the median price is up from last year still. And the one number really that is low is inventory. So it's surprising because there are buyers out there, but the inventory is low for sure.
Just to note that 2019 was a record year in Davidson County.
Right. So if we look at kind of when the stay-at-home orders were put in place, even in the midst of that, pending sales increased each week. If we just look at again, this is just another chart and showing once again that the inventory, if you look at the percent change in March, kind of that third column over, you'll see that the numbers that are low are the number of homes for sale and inventory. So pending sales are up, closed sales are up, and the median price is up again.
And it's somewhat understandable. You would think that people are wary of maybe having people coming into their homes. So it is something that people are having to consider. Should I put my home on now or should I wait?
And so one of the things that we look at is how, because it surprised us, why are sales still strong when so many have lost their jobs? So if we kind of take a deeper dive into that, layoffs, this is just Tennessee numbers. Of course, we saw some huge layoffs that third week of March, and they continue to increase the following weeks, but not at the same rate, obviously. And they've started to level out a bit. But when you look at what jobs were hit the most, it's mostly lower wage workers. We all know the hospitality market was really hit hard. And a lot of those, those workers are renters and may not have been looking to purchase a home. The higher wage earners have not been hit as hard. So here, and not to minimize the impact, because Nashville, our hospitality market is huge chunk of our market and economy. So not to minimize that at all, but that is for sure where we've seen the biggest hit.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. I think our team sold 16 houses in the last 2 weeks, and it's a combination of cottages, condos, and then single family homes. But the price ranges, we've seen a couple of condos, two penthouses up at the City Lights, for instance, one that sold for 2.6 million. But we are seeing a lot more of the sales in the 500, 6-7 million plus range, and perhaps that is an indication that the lower end has been hit harder. And we have to wonder whether there'll be a trickle up effect as that starts measuring on the economy. And I do think some of the next level jobs are probably getting hit right now. So it's not just, it will continue to impact up the chain.
And here's a kind of look at what the, again, the the weekly earnings of some of those industries, and the leisure and hospitality is definitely the lower earners on that list, whereas professional services and construction remains high. The ages that have been hit the hardest are under 24 years old. And first-time home buyers typically are between 25 and 34. They had the smallest increase in unemployment from February to March. Probably some of those layoffs have leveled off. And then the least hit is the over 45-year-old, 45 to 54, who may be looking to move up in home or purchase a second home. Some good news is that we are seeing signs of slowing as far as job loss, but again, probably because most of those have just occurred in the last few weeks.
I have one of my form mates is Max Goldberg, and I know Benjamin's in EO as well, but what a hit to the restaurant industry. And in Sherry's form, she's got Jim Lewis of Burger Up and Josephine. So we've been hearing a lot about the restaurant industry and the hospitality workers.
I've been hearing a little bit about that too.
Have you, Deborah? Yeah. On March 3rd, I was over in Nashville watching Matt and Deborah pull debris off the 3 restaurants that you guys lost in the storm or got hit hard with.
So, that industry has definitely been affected for sure. And so again, we were surprised when we saw the stats from Showing Time, which is our showing service here in Tennessee and really across the nation. And they're showing that the showings for clients, for buyers, have gone up significantly over the last couple of weeks. And we've definitely seen that on our team. I'm actually taking clients out at 11 after this call to go look at some houses. So showings are up for sure.
And I guess it makes some sense, because when you have such historically low interest rates, people who are taking a longer view and people who want to be safe in their own shelter would think that this is a great time to lock in for a long-term investment and a long-term safe place for family. So it does I can see why when you have such historically low interest rates.
Yeah, and the inventory is down, so it is still a seller's market. I can definitely attest to keeping an eye on the coming soon sheets, because buyers are looking and the inventory is just not there.
Yeah, in certain neighborhoods and price ranges, we're still seeing multiple offer situations.
And then, it's not like it's business as usual. We're definitely having to take some steps to protect ourselves and protect our clients. So we're doing a lot of things remotely and virtually. A lot of buyers were really making sure they do those virtual tours before we schedule any showings. That can kind of knock some things out. There are a lot of virtual tours now, whereas you didn't see as many before. That's almost a standard right now. We don't go to closings anymore. Title companies have asked that only the signing parties attend. And then for sellers, again, we're suggesting that they do those virtual tours. And I don't know if you all have ever gone on a virtual tour before, but they're pretty cool. This is a home that I have listed in the Buena Vista neighborhood. So you can just click through, takes you inside the home, you can turn around, you can look at the floor, you can click through and look closely at countertops. I mean, you can really just see every part of the home. You can click over on the map if you want to jump to, even like if you want to go up to the second floor, and then take the tour up there. This takes you onto the different floors, but it's pretty cool.
Which is interesting. We're starting to see more offers that are fully virtual, where nobody's ever set foot in the house. They've looked at it with a tour, and they'll come in on inspection and take a look at it. But we're seeing some virtual offers.
Get this pulled back up here. So one of the services that we have also been providing our clients during this time is our real estate reviews. It's something we do annually for anyone who has purchased with us. But we're able to put information into this program and tell you in your neighborhood specifically what the market looks like. This is the kind of what the front page would look like of that review, but then there are also charts and graphs and all the supporting data would come after that.
And everybody likes to know what their house is worth, right? Right, Deborah?
Right, yeah, that's fun. So what is safe to buy right now? We have a lot of new construction, people looking at new construction, and Mark, you can speak a little bit more to all the developments.
So, obviously parks and greenways have risen in status during this COVID-19. Fortunately for us, we're able to get outside and take walks, and the greenways and parks have been one of those safe havens. And this is a project called East Greenway Park. It's over in East Nashville next to Cornelius Fort Park and Shelby Bottoms. And what we found is we had 10 homes that were being built and under construction that are finishing up in June in that sector. And I think we had sold 4, and then we quickly ran through and sold all 6 of those in March. And then we started opening up a next phase of 17 homes. And without any construction, we've sold 4 of those, and I think we have 2 more coming. So people feel safe around parks and greenways. That's one thing. And the status of this project is rising, and everybody's paying full price for the homes right now.
And one of those specifically went under contract the day after or 2 days after the tornado, because this neighborhood is really close to one that was hit hard, and people were looking for something that they could move into.
Yeah, it's true. If you looked at the swath of the tornado, it came within 3 blocks of this community, but people love East Nashville, and they'll stay in East Nashville, so they might move from where they were to here. So we're selling 3 developments for this particular developer on the Parthenon. So it's right next to the Parthenon in Centennial Park. The plan had been to sell this first phase, which is 74 units, as short-term rental, because the zoning is correct, and you would think that being next to Vanderbilt and next to Centennial Park, this would be a popular short-term rental site. Well, we went out to market on this project we were going to come out in early March, and we came out the day that the stock market dropped 2,000 points. So I had to talk to the developer and say, you know what? I think that this is not the best time for you to come out with a full launch on this project. Let's wait a couple months and see what happens with the short-term rental market. But what we've done, and this developer is still bullish on Nashville, we've been tracking the stats of the hotel and occupancy tax downtown, and we looked at it for 2019, and we've been encouraging investors who are taking the long view to write contracts with a contingency that the hotel and occupancy tax will be back to 80 or 85% of what it was in 2019 before they close. And otherwise, they would either have the right to extend or cancel the contract. And the developer is fine with that. So we're taking contracts and still moving this project along quietly for this developer, hoping to have 2 wonderful phases of high-end sort of luxury condos after this. And this is a project that it's called the Chelsea. It's right in 12 South. It was an apartment conversion. We had 79 units in this project, and we had to sort of clear it out and get it refinanced for FHA and conventional financing. The team has been selling this extremely well, and we're down to 13 units to sell in the project. And it's still quite popular because people also are looking for walkability like normal, and 12 South is a popular neighborhood. This happens to be right next to Belmont University, which means that some students and grad students are buying in, and parents of graduate students or students are buying in. This is a new project that Core Development's getting ready to launch. It's called Trinity Flats. It's over on Elmington and Trinity Lane. So it sits up on the hill. There's 3 water tanks that are on the property, the big white water tanks, and it sits at the highest point in the neighborhood. We're actually going to call it High View Flats because the views for downtown are excellent. We've been intending to come out with this project with very attainable price points, and even before COVID, you know, we had to be thinking about potentially an end of a long cycle. It had been such a great run. So we've been thinking more about the very attainable price points in workforce housing. Well, these prices for the condos would start at $179.9, and really the highest price point in the whole project would be $299. So looking at, you know, sort of that attainable price point, easy access to downtown is something that we are considering. Now I have to put my developer hat on and look at this and say, am I bullish? Should I still go forward? Will this be a project that's hit by the loss of all of the hospitality jobs given the price points? Or do I believe in Nashville? And should I go ahead and sign a big note and create a project? And this is the sister project down the hill. This is also a Core Development project. This is called Highview Cottages. We'll have 75 cottages. And Core has done a lot of these cottage series projects. Now I would imagine no matter what, that this is going to do really well. You know, these price points are going to start in the high 3s and probably go into the high 4s. But again, I think cottages are something that people feel safe with. And even after, for instance, after the Great Recession, there was a nice pivot from condos to cottages. Well, I think that's still up. And I do think that people, you know, will be thinking about the sort of safety and their own place. And this is still sort of an attainable price point in our city. So I'm still fairly bullish on this product, and quite a few of them will have great views. This is a project we're talking about converting. This is down in the Gulch, and it's a 31 unit. It's been an apartment complex. It was with Stay Alfred, which is a long.
Lost Mark.
And the
All
price
right.
points to be able to.
Oh, there we go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, well, you broke up for 1 second when you
Okay.
started talking about it.
Anyway, I think that the price points and location in the Gulch will still be popular. And gosh, I know that we might have some time where we have to continue to distance, and we may have to watch this thing for the next year or so, but I still think Nashville believes in its neighborhoods, and the Gulch will be a strong neighborhood in the future. So I know some of you have talked to us about investment opportunities, and I think some have been buying into the short-term rental market. One of the opportunities that some of us have been investing in is something called the Opportunity Zone. And I know you've heard of it, but certain neighborhoods were designated in our city as opportunity zones, which means that an investor who has capital gains can come in and put money into that zone. The capital gains, the tax on those capital gains would be sheltered until 2026. So you wouldn't pay your capital gains. And then if you invest in the project and build something or hold something and put some improvements into it, and you hold it for 10 years and a day and sell it, you don't pay any capital gains on that sale. So there are certain neighborhoods that I think were interesting already, and I've always loved, you know, to sort of explore emerging neighborhoods and think about what's next. I had invested quite heavily in Wedgwood, Houston, which is an opportunity zone, but at the end of 2019, some of the big boys from Texas, Heinz, came in and they liked that property more than I did. So we finished up a third project. I sold that land, but I've been moving over and putting some money in places like Lower Dickerson, which is an opportunity zone with great, great views of the city. I think with the North Gulch and the possible pedestrian bridge into the Germantown, I think that's a good long-term play. So again, taking off the short-term hat, which is what we're looking at with COVID-19, and putting on the long-term hat, an opportunity zone could be a really great investment. And the other thing that we're doing is we're probably going to be developing some projects in those zones, and typically we do raise money from investors for these projects. So I have a nice mom and pop investor group. And I did talk about the hotel occupancy tax collections, and this is what they looked like in 2019. As I have been selling the Odyssey, or our team has been selling the Odyssey, we're starting to reflect upon this number and thinking that if they deliver, for instance, in August of 2021, well, as long as that tax is somewhere in range to what it is now, meaning that we have some tourism back, then our investors would close. If not, then they'd have an opportunity to wait until that happens. So if you do like that kind of investment, we have that opportunity for you. Now, Tennessee is a high, we have a lot of tourists, and you look at Nevada here, and the market for short-term rental will likely be down for some time. I think there's probably a lot out there, and I think Vegas and conventions will be hit hard. But you can see that Nashville, the demand for short-term rental might be a little bit lower too. The offset to that is that a lot of people are converting their short-term rental that they have right now because they're vacant. They're either selling them as single-family homes, which I know you're selling some of those, Deborah, or they're converting them to long-term rental. So there will be a pool of that comes out of the market, and so will it need to be replaced with new product? Possibly.
Looks like we have some questions here. So one is there any activity in the tornadoes areas? Sales up or down? What do you forecast? Okay, we talked about the Airbnb properties. In the tornado areas, it's interesting. My clients I'm taking out later today are looking in the Donaldson area, and they really want to be in one of those areas that was hardest hit. And there are those lots just continue to come up for sale and going under contract within a day or two. So I think those areas are still desired areas for people, and it is actually hard to find the lots available.
Yeah, and the urban tornado zones, East Nashville, North Nashville areas, I think are still going to be very popular neighborhoods, and people will want to rebuild. People will want to be back in the community. 5 Points will want to be another neighborhood commercial district like it has been. Yet it's a tough hit for everybody. It's a tough hit for the neighbors. It's a tough hit for the the merchants, and double up with COVID-19, it makes it more difficult to rebuild. Somebody asked, what's the price point in the Gulch?
Sorry. Yeah,
we haven't set that yet, but the Gulch and condos in that area are probably some of the highest in the city. So if you look at the average price of a 1212, for instance, in the Gulch right now, a resale is selling for about $600 per square foot. The tower at Icon, for instance, is now selling in the high fives, so 575. The lower units in the Icon, and there's been quite a few sales this year, have been more in the 499 range per square foot. And if you look at Terrazzo, those are bigger units, but the average is sort of 450 to 475. We think that with this property, we'll come out closer to the 450 range, which means that we'd have some stuff in the mid to high threes and probably up to fives. So we think we'll have a popular product, and we do think that there'll be a great market, with folks coming in to work at Amazon and Alliance Bernstein and just wanting to be downtown and be in that neighborhood to buy into a smaller project, which might be deemed a little bit safer. Might be better to be in 31 units than 420 units like in the Icon.
Let's see, one of the next questions is the proposed property tax impact on investors. I was also handed the same question by someone who just walked past my office.
That's funny.
Mark, I'll let you take that. I have my own thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, the proposal through the mayor's office is a 32% tax increase for properties. My personal belief is that this should have happened a long time ago. We should have probably raised taxes under Carl Dean and been even more poised for, what we're going through. I think the city's been going through a hard time, even without it, the tornado and COVID, trying to keep up with infrastructure. We haven't been getting as much money for greenways as we would like. There's essential services that people would like, schools and security workers and police would like to have a little more money in their pockets, so we haven't been able to give the kinds of raises we needed. So my personal belief is that we should have raised the taxes before, but now if we have to, raise taxes 25 to 32%, it would be, yes, it would be an impact on investment, and yet we are in the south, we're the city with the lowest property taxes of sister cities that are near us, and I do think that we need to play a little bit of catch up. So I don't think it's going to cause people not to come and relocate because our property taxes are way lower than in the north. Yet I guess you have to put your pen to it and see what the property tax impacts does on investment. It could, it would factor into offers for sure.
Another question is about raw land in the outlying areas of Davidson County. I don't think that market has necessarily shifted any, just like everything else, it's staying steady. But Mark, I don't know if you have something to add.
Yeah, my sense is that we're still in an I don't know period. I think you probably expected us to come in here and tell you that real estate sales were terrible given what's going on, and it's been quite good. But I don't think that we haven't seen the whole of it as of yet, because we're just really beginning to see the economic impact of job loss, and how we come back and reopen as a country and as a state and as a city will impact what happens moving forward. And of course, for health and wellness, I know we want to see vaccines and cures and things to help shorten the COVID cycle, and that kind of news I think would have a dramatic impact on, if we really heard that good things could happen and happen faster, then I think we'd open up and be back to business, not as normal, but better off. And I can't answer all these questions because it's such big macroeconomics. I can't tell you what's going to happen in the future.
There is a question about commercial real estate, the market, given the stay-at-home. Just what do you see for the future of commercial real estate? Again, it's a crystal ball question.
I just heard this morning about a piece of property trading in Wedgwood, Houston for, again, record prices. And there's still some incredible purchases happening where people are paying more than I would expect for property. That said, I do think, I think you're going to have to watch the banks and their appetites for lending. And I think I see something about pension funds and life insurance funds have shut down. It would make sense. I think, that those conservative, bigger pension funds are looking at the whole country, and they're saying, let's just put a pause on it before we do anything and possibly see if the market's going to continue down, look for opportunities in markets that have been hit hardest. Right now, I've not seen Nashville's investment property coming down, but I guess we'll have to watch and see what happens over the next 3 to 5 months. Yeah, somebody's asking about lenders. It's very interesting. We talked with one bank because I am actually shopping banks right now for Trinity Flats or Highview Flats and Highview Cottages, and one bank gave us a term sheet, or they're talking about term sheets that are extremely conservative, with way more equity than we usually need, with way more pre-sales than we would usually require. And that's really not attainable. But other banks and some of the community banks are coming in and saying, we love you guys. We're continuing to lend, and their term sheets are not that different so far. So I think different banks are looking at this in different ways.
And then there is a question about rents from Brad Hill. He was saying the rents were a bit soft last month and concerned about a steeper dip in collections this month. He says most of his rentals are in affordable areas. Sounds like that may be more hard hit than middle or upper areas. Personally, I know our rental properties, I've called all of our tenants, and a couple of them were concerned about paying rent, but so far, knock on wood. But personally, we're definitely keeping a close eye on that. I know some of our tenants have lost their jobs, but are getting the additional $600 on the unemployment. And so far that seems to be sustaining them. Mark, I don't know if you want to.
Well, I'm on the commercial front. Every one of our tenants in 12 South and some of the buildings that we own in 12 South have either asked for forgiveness or for deferment. So we have buildings that house restaurants and retail, and they're all shut down right now. And so we've been generous. We've either deferred or extended, or given some free rent in certain situations because they've been good long-term tenants. But again, we hope it comes back too, and we want their businesses to be open, and hopefully what we do now will create a better tenancy in the future, people who are grateful and like what we did now. Some of the apartment buildings and things that I'm invested in are still collecting rents, and this is in Chattanooga and Nashville, and still getting about 95 to 97% collections, but you're seeing some falling off in that. Personally, Sherry and I own some things, and I have a couple of tenants who are asking for forgiveness, and we're trying to be as considerate as possible.
Let's see. I think that we hit on most of these topics. If there's something I missed, please
What
let me
about
know.
the one on the jumbo loans being affected? The question.
Lending in general is getting it's a little bit tighter, but it's mostly because things are taking longer to process because people are working from home, and so a jumbo loan is going to be anything. I think in Davidson County it's 550-ish range and higher. So it's taking appraisers longer to go out because they're having to make sure people aren't in the home and things like that. I don't know that it's being affected any more directly than all the other lending right now.
I think some banks are tightening up their credit scores, or mortgage companies tightening up. You have to have a better credit score to get a loan right now. So the other thing that's happened, and this affects the construction industry and the development industry in general, is that Metro has been shut down as well. So you have codes inspectors, building inspectors, in anything from planning to inspection to final use and occupancy permits is going to be impacted. They can't get out and do their job. Up and running. And I know Mayor Cooper has extended our stay at home for another week or so, and we'll just have to see how that goes. It's going to be an interesting time. These are crazy times right now. This is not, you can put your Great Recession hat on. You can look at other times in our city, but there's nothing like a pandemic to give you some new insights and cause you to think about how to pivot your business to do something cool in the future.
All right. I think we touched on all the questions. I'll toss it back to, I don't know if Samara's there actually. She may have had to get off.
I think that her service is going in and out. I don't want to keep y'all, but did anyone else have a question before we finish that you didn't type in that you want to ask? All righty. I see no hands. Do you, Deborah?
I do not.
Awesome. Well, we are just so thankful for Deborah and Mark sharing time with us this morning and being so prepared, and the information was amazing. And thank you for being our partners and our members. And it was great to see all of you this morning, and our thoughts are with all of you, and appreciate everything you've done for us.
Well, stay healthy and happy, and keep doing your meditations and find some joy in the midst of all of this.
Thanks, everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Have a great day.